From Kalamazoo, direct to you, it's a WKZO.com quickcast.
All right, Coach, well, picked to finish second, and I've asked everybody, and they've said that doesn't matter. I would imagine that is a directive that comes down from you. What do you think about being picked to finish second in the preseason?
Well, the first thing is, I'm a little shocked because, we're really young. We lost a lot of good players, but I think it's a testament to some of the kids we got on the team and, how good they think they could be. And it really does make a difference. I think we learned our lesson there a few years ago, and we got to go out there and we got to play the games. But, I think it's also a testament to how well our program's going so far, which is a good thing. And our kids have a lot of pride in there. Even if we lose a lot of the stars we did, and we're still ranked that high. And it says something about what we're trying to do.
What about the secondary? That's the big question this year because you guys lost so many people. How are they setting up? How do you feel about the younger guys?
I really feel good. I like the enthusiasm of the young guys there. I think there's a lot of guys there that have something to prove. We get Doug Wiggins, and I think that really helps us out, and then solidify the thing. But I think we'll be deeper this year than we've probably been in the last 3 years. So we got a lot of kids over there that I think are willing to play and do the right things. Got to find a nickel guy. I think that's an issue right now. Not quite sure there, but I think we got 3 good corners and 2 guys coming in that I think are really good players, and the safety's probably about as deep as we've ever been.
You've got a little bit of a situation because of Tim and the amount of attention that's going to come to him. I mean, you're used to that with Greg and obviously Jamarco, but how do you handle that? How do you handle throughout the season? I mean, obviously he's not the type of guy who's going to cause a problem in that, but is there anything you have to do extra to deal with that?
No, I think the kids, he's earned the kids' respect there. And I think everybody looks at it as, it's promoting Western Michigan football and Tim being one of them. I think Tim would be the first one to say the exact same thing. So, and he deserves it. I mean, he's reaching some milestones that haven't been reached by a lot of people out there. And the same way when Tim Lester, he finished, I think, 4th and 7th in passing yards and touchdown passes. And, of course, now he's dropped down a little because of the number of games. But, Tim has a chance to do something pretty special. But he'll tell you the same thing. It's all within the team concept.
You've got a heavy amount of people in the NFL. One of them is actually reporting today in Louis Delmas, right, in Allen Park to the Lions facility. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about how that shows your program and how far it's gone. And on top of that, a guy like Louis who's had to go through a lot to get to where he is.
Well, I think the one thing I like about it is, they're all been 2-star guys. Not guys really, really highly recruited. They've been able to be developed at our university, not only football-wise, I mean, academically and socially. And so they feel good about what they're doing there. They've grown as a man. They put themselves in an NFL draft to a point where they're good character guys. And that has a lot to be said for a guy getting drafted high. And then when they get there, they have enough intestinal fortitude to just keep on plugging along and working hard. And I think our schemes have really helped them out. As it turns out, Lewis, they say, is the smartest DB they've ever had as a young kid, and Greg James was the smartest receiver they had there. So our kids, I think, are getting ready for the NFL, and they're playing well, and they're producing, which brings more people there and helps us out in recruiting. But for Lewis, as far as he's come, it's, I still say I think they're going to be making a movie about him one day.
How do you feel about how the running back position is going to actually come together? You got Aaron Winchester, obviously, and Thompson's there, and then, of course, Brandon West. Is that going to be a shared thing, or is it just going to depend on who plays the best?
Yeah, I think it's, who's playing, who's got the hot hand, who's going to play the best. Of course, Brandon may start, but Aaron's going to play. Glennis gives us a chance. He's a senior right now. He should be able to contribute to little things we're doing. And we got 2 young freshmen coming in. I think are really quality guys. So, it's not a one guy. He gets all the carries because I don't think you can get through a whole season like that. And Aaron has proven that when he gets his chance, he's really a good player.
You open up against Michigan. Obviously, Western has played Michigan before at Michigan, but kind of a different situation with Rich Rodriguez's second year and what he had to go through last year, and really very atypical of a Michigan season. What's it like to go into this situation? I mean, I know it's a game, and you always say it's just a regular game, but is there any added significance to it because Michigan is really looking to get such a nice start after such a tough season?
Well, it's kind of interesting, because I look back at my first year of that Virginia game, it was like, you geared the whole thing because it was the first time. And then after we went to the bowl game, we went to West Virginia, and tried to prove some things there. That didn't work out as much. So I really do believe it's more or less a process there. We know Michigan will be a whole lot better than what they did or how they did last year because of it's just history. That's what he's always done. They got great players there, and they got great fan support. And it'll be a great stadium to play in. I think our key is to make sure we go in there and don't lose in the very beginning like we did against Nebraska. Because, after the first 7 minutes, 8 minutes, we played pretty well against Nebraska. We went down the wire. And we got to make sure that we don't blow up in there early.
Is it a concern that you could possibly revert back to 2 years ago where you guys had those 3 really tough games to start, or does it help you to have had those games in a row so now you kind of understand because you got that type of deal this year?
Yeah, I don't think it's just, like a couple of years ago, that was the number 1 and number 2 team in the country up until last week. And that was hard. And they had veteran quarterbacks, they had guys that really made a lot of things happen. They had great skilled guys running around there. So probably a little bit different than it was a couple of years ago, but I think we're better able to handle it too. This is the first time we haven't had a coaching change. I think that helps. We got some veteran leadership over the other side, which we did not at that time. That was Tim's really second year, and he wasn't, probably ready to, take on the things that we need to get taken care of. Lost a couple of pretty good leaders, and we didn't really have great leadership. I think we're better in that area.
You guys don't go to Idaho this year. You don't have that type of a trip. Kind of a regional feel to the schedule. What's that like? As a coach, does it make it easier to prepare?
Well, when you have all those the airline flights, and that's a lot of preparation. And it's a lot of time on flights and getting off flights, clearance, and all that stuff there. We don't have one this year, which I think is a pretty good thing. The bus trips, we couldn't wait for a bus trip last year where, in some years you wish you had an airline, so you weren't on a bus so much. So it's been pretty good. I think regionally the schedule sets up really well, and we're excited about staying closer to home rather than getting all those cross-country flights.
You guys always want to win the directional trophy in the MAC, obviously Central and Eastern, but you could conceivably win Michigan this year by beating all 4 teams. I mean, what's that about?
Yeah, I think it's it's a good schedule. I think that's one part there, and but it's going to be a lot of fun because a lot of our fans interact with the rest of the schools in the state here, and so we got a chance to go up against all 4 of them. I think it may be one of the few times in the history of college football that somebody has done that in the state.
You've got Greg Jennings in Green Bay, and now you've got Jamarco in Green Bay. Talk about that a little bit, about how you think that's going to play out, just from your perspective. To me, it seems like Jamarco's a perfect fit there, and it seemed like one of those things where Greg was like, "Yay, you should probably go after this guy."
Yeah, I think Jamarco's got some injury problems right now that I know he's dealing with. So, I don't know how that's going to work out, but I still think he's got a chance to play in the NFL and be a productive guy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, Dan, good seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Emily,
too.
good seeing you.